I am Vinnie Tortorich. Folks, your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed. We're going to be talking to someone today who was born on the bayou. That's right. People love when I do the bayou episodes whenever I have someone from back home. This person's been on my short list for a long time. Hell, I thought about calling her. As a matter of fact, I looked into calling her way back when the whole thing happened with that crazy doctor who was messing around with gymnasts, and that drove me nuts. But I said, you know what? That's going to get political fast. And there was another time I wanted to call her, and I went, no, I'm going to leave that alone. And then I ran into her sister. And I said, yeah, I ran into her sister at a funeral. And I said, Nancy, I wanted to speak to your sister for a long time. She goes, oh, she'll do your show. Now, folks, I'm going to mention a few names here. And we used to do this on the early shows of this podcast way back in the day. Anna thought that people in Louisiana, especially Donaldsonville, had the craziest names, and the names had nothing to do with the person's real name. I'll give you some examples. There's a guy named Larry Gymbroni, but nobody knows Larry Gymbroni, but they know Muffler. There's a woman, she's dead now. Her name was Margaret Caballero. Nobody knows Margaret Caballero, but they know Teapot. There was a woman named Mildred Capella. Nobody knows Mildred Capella, but they know Tatoon. Vince Sotiel. There are 4 Vince Sotiels that I know of, maybe 5. I'm related to 2 of them, but they know Beezy, and they know Little Beezy. There's a guy named Anthony Bonadonna. Nobody knows that. You know who they do know? They know Meatball Bonadonna. That's the way it goes in Donaldsonville. Their names on people, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why those people have those names. And there's another one in that group. Her name is Sarah Breaux. Now, if you walk around and ask anybody who Sarah Breaux is in Donaldsonville, they're going to say, I have no idea. But if you ask them who D-D is, they know D-D. And not only do the people in Donaldsonville know D-D, but Nick Saban knows who D-D is. Kim Mulkey knows who D-D is. And by the way, Kim Mulkey would not exist, in my opinion, if it wasn't for D-D Breaux. So folks, after a long time waiting, after years, I welcome to my show none other than Miss D-D Breaux. Yeah.
Thank you. We got a crowd.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got an audience over here, D-D.
Yeah, and I knew all of those people.
Did you know all the names? Did you know Larry Gymbroni was Muffler?
Muffler. I knew Muffler. Yeah. He was a good friend of my brother Tommy.
Yeah. Do you know Earl Lanois? You know what Earl Lanois' what's Earl Lanois' name? That everyone
I don't know.
knows?
You're going to have to, I don't know. You have to tell me his Donaldsonville name.
That would be Chumpy Lanois.
Chubby. Yep.
Chumpy Lanois. Everybody
I saw Randy yesterday.
Yeah, his brother. So you and Randy are probably around. And they have a sister named Mary Lynn. And Mary Lynn goes by Mem. Right?
Yep.
Nobody goes by their name except me. No, close. My name is Vincent, but I go by. As a matter of fact, folks, when I wrote to D-D and said, D-D, would you come on the podcast? She goes, are you related to Cy? My father's name is not Cy. It's actually Vincent, but nobody knows that in Donaldsonville.
It's Fly High with Cy.
Fly High with Cy. And he taught you in high school, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he loves you to death. He talks about his kids from back in those days as if it happened last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So D-D, there's an incredible documentary done on you, and it seems like it was done by ESPN Films. Does that sound about right?
The SEC Network, ESPN, and it was produced by a company called Lookalike Productions out of New York. And they, in my opinion, they really captured it. They were very sensitive about the struggles and the whole beginning to how great it is at LSU now. And they did that journey, and it was so well done. So I'm very appreciative. And actually, Michael Barnett, and I'm in his office right now, he's our sports information director at LSU, and they called him, ESPN called him, the SEC network called and said, hey, our people want to do a story about D-D. And, what do you think? You think she'll be up? She'll do it. And he said, she'll do anything. She'll do anything. So I'm very grateful that they chose me, because it does shine a light, and I'm hoping a message to young coaches and female athletes, but all athletes, about the journey. May not be easy, but it's worth putting on your heavy work boots and getting after it.
Yeah, and it wasn't an easy story for you folks. When you look at it, I just pulled her up while she was talking. I just pulled her up on Wikipedia. National Gymnastics Coach of the Year, 2014 through 2017. SEC Coach of the Year, 1990, 93, 94, 95, 2000, 05, 15, and 17. NCAA Central Regional Coach of the Year, 99, 02, 05, 06, 10, 13, 14, 15, and 17. And I could go on and on and on. The championships, it would be here. I'd be here for an hour just reading what this woman has done as far as that goes. But D-D, I think the story goes way deeper than that, because first off, they showed your balance beam that you got for Christmas when you were a kid. You were an aspiring Olympic gymnast.
Well, that was the dream. That was the motivation. That was the dream.
And I love that they mentioned that, you had an ACL tear, and that was a career-ending thing back then, whereas today,
Yes.
that's like the common cold, right? They can fix you up back out there. So you turned your sights to coaching. Now, my mom will tell you, I don't forget anything. That's why I can do this show without notes. I have somewhat of a photographic memory. My first memory of you, but I want to say also your mom, was that you guys were fighting CF Industries when I was a little kid. Right? Does that sound about right? Because this matters to your story. You want to talk about that for just a second?
Yeah. I don't mind talking about it. It was in the show, and we did not mention the industry. We didn't mention it, and I think let's say that all of the industry up and down the river, and all of the industry has its place, and I just want them to be good community citizens, to give back to their communities and do for those communities, because they can never give back as much as they're taking away. So there was a huge battle, because they were 100 yards from the back of my house. And the sugarcane plantation that was sold, the man also owned this little subdivision. And we built our forever home in that subdivision. And my father went and bought the 2 lots on the side after we had been there a couple of years. And within a week of Daddy buying those other 2 lots, the gentleman sold all of the plantation, or it was a final deal that was in the paper, but he knew full well going into that deal that he was selling something that was going to have zero value. And so now we're faced with 2 lots, a house that has no value, and a plant that's under construction. And the sounds and the pounding and the earth moving, and then when they get the thing going, the emissions, and there'd be ammonia emissions and burn-offs, and in the middle of the night they'd have these explosions, and the cabinets would shake and open, the dishes would rattle out. but you can't imagine that unless you're living it. And my mother got the phone numbers of the people that worked that owned the plant, but they didn't live there. It didn't bring all those people to Donaldsonville that it said it was going to bring. It didn't enhance our schools. It did not bring a population. So what happened is we ended up a group of kids, friends. Wayne Harp was one of them, Paula Porter, Glenna Robert, Sizzy Wiggins. We painted on the weekends 4x8 pieces of plywood, and we put slogans. Anybody that would allow us to put them in their yard. And of course, the Harps would let us put one in their yard because Wayne was one of the members of this club. And eventually, the people that would get these phone calls at night, and my mother would put the phone outside the door and say, I just want you to be awake because we're awake and I want you to hear what's going on. And then, we'd have to get up and go to school. She'd have to get up and prepare breakfast and get us off and all of that. But it was a terrible, terrible situation. And they eventually bought out that subdivision, bought out the homes of people that lived in that immediate subdivision, but bought us out first and gave us 2 weeks to get out. So, we had 10 people, 8 kids, and I don't know, a couple of dogs. And we had 2 weeks to get out. So Daddy found apartments on the Batur of Bayou Lafourche. Now, we were on the Mississippi River then. Now we're on the Batur of Bayou Lafourche. And had 2 apartments. So my balance beam then went right on the bayou instead of the side yard. It went into right next to the bayou, and gave me a place to practice and work balance beam when I couldn't go to practice. So it was a struggle and it was a battle. But fast forward now, CF has built multiple plants. It's the largest fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia fertilizer plant in the world.
Yeah.
And many, many more plants are to come. And I'm only hoping that the promises that this industry, these new ones, the promises that they're making, they'll keep their promises, and people will move to Donaldsonville, and it will infuse energy and new money into that community. And we can open up some stores again. We can have Railroad Avenue like it was when we were there growing up, instead of a tattoo parlor where it used to be Matassa's furniture store. And, all kind, it just goes on and on. There's no movie theater there anymore. The Grand Theater was gone a long time ago, but your good friend, Larry Pierre Savoy, is making sweet popcorn like we used to enjoy at the Grand Theater. So there's some things beginning to happen, and the coffee shop there on Railroad Avenue is one of the hot spots right now. But that was a huge part of our lives growing up, and fighting that fight and winning, and then being able to build another beautiful home down the bayou.
Yeah, I often tell people I grew up in a Norman Rockwell painting.
That's true. You did.
When I was a kid, Lemon's store was right on one end of the avenue. On the other end, we actually had a depot, and there was a restaurant that's still there called the First and Last Chance, which was your first.
Billy Guyot is still there.
The Savoia family owned it back before that. Billy was part of the Savoia family, and everything in between. I tell this to my nephew Mikey all the time, who's a reporter down there, who I think you just met recently.
I did. I met him yesterday.
And I told him, I said, Mike, it was right around the time you were born in 1980. It was around the time I left. Things like we had a cobbler shop. People don't realize we had a cobbler shop right across from the Grand Theater. We had you wanted the best meatballs in town. Butch Ruggiero had them, right there. Everything you wanted. It was, you had a hardware store. You had.
We had 4 or 5 family drugstores. We had mom and pop bar and restaurants all up and down Railroad Avenue. Tom and Babes, Ferris's, right there on the avenue.
Modern shoe store owned by Chumpy's mom.
Chumpy's mom.
And Shaheen's department store and Rossi's 5 and 10. And
yeah. It was a melting pot. You talk about there was a rich a rich Italian heritage there. There was
Yeah.
a rich Lebanese heritage there. There was a strong Jewish community. Mr. Gaston, Miss Olga Hirsch, their clothing store there. I mean, it was just, and then you had the Cajuns, and you had all of that population, an incredible African American population. We had multiple Catholic churches. We had like 3 right there. Smoke Bin, Ascension Catholic, and St. Catherine's. So it was just, like you said, it was a great place to grow up.
I don't know if you know this, but you know where the Western Auto Store was?
Yeah, yes, it's still there across from the park.
Okay, if you look at the back of it, if you stand in front of it, but you got to stand across the street and look at it, you'll see that it was a bigger building, the back of it. That was originally a Jewish synagogue. Most people don't know that about Donaldsonville. We had a Jewish synagogue right there on Railroad Avenue.
Well, we still have an incredible Jewish graveyard.
Oh yeah, it's not as well.
But I did not know that about the Western Auto Store.
Oh, I can tell you things about that town that most people just. As a matter of fact, I was born on Railroad Avenue.
So was I. You were either Dr. Shake Snyder or Dr. LeBlanc, and it was old homes renovated. And half of the kids in our family were Dr. Shake Snyder, and half of us with the other. And we had multiple dentists there in town.
That's right. And we actually had a gunsmith in town. We had a gunsmith right off of Railroad Avenue, right before you got to Fontana's, where they actually had a barrel with the black olives in the barrel. Frank would take me there to go eat black olives. Yeah. We had everything in Donaldsonville. It's all gone. It is all it's done. And it's because of the plan. It's because of what happened. There's a lot of what happened there. And I want to see it come back. Right.
Well, let me tell you, Vinnie, I'm on a committee, a network, Ready Start Network, to help promote early childhood learning in Ascension Parish. And of course, it's thriving on the east side of the river, but on the west side of the river, not so much. And one of our missions was to take some money that they found that was going to be spent to enhance the jail. And they decided we're going to put in an early learning center in Donaldsonville, brick and mortar, from the ground up. It's going to be incredible. Well, to short step that, they've done a renovation of the bottom of Lemon's department store, which had been empty for a long time. And now it's full. We can't take any more kids in there. And it's an awesome learning experience. And Hope Gotro, who runs the Head Start program, I stop there whenever I'm running through town. And she told me last time I was there, she said, Dee, the kids that we're getting from the Early Learning Center in the Lemons building are so ready. They're much more prepared than kids that we get from any place else to get them ready to go to school. And that's what preschool is. So getting ready for that. But let me tell you, when we did that, CF Industries stepped up and made huge 2 donations, one in 1 year and one the next year, huge donations to support and uplift the community. So with everything else, they are a good community citizen.
Well, I'm going to tell you, this is something most people don't realize about Donaldsonville, and you might not realize this either. Donaldsonville has a ton of money in private citizens. I'm going to give you an example. I won't mention the name of the place, but there's these small brokerage houses where, you go and put your money in, I'll just name it. Is that where Jones? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Edward Jones only works in small communities around the country. That's the way they work. If you notice, Donaldsonville has 2 Edward Joneses. Did you know that? 2.
Well, I knew they had one, but I didn't.
They have 2. I'm with the original one, but they had to open a second one. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because Edward Jones has a policy of each building, each entity can only handle X amount of billions of dollars. Once you get to a certain amount, you can't have anyone else come in. There's so much money In Donaldsonville, I know you're looking at me like, wait, that community is about to fall apart. Where's all this money coming from?
It's the poorest community in America per capita.
Yeah, there's 2 Edward Joneses there. And you're going to go, where's, okay, example. I haven't lived there since I was 18 years old. I'm 63. You want to know where my money is?
Edward Jones in Donaldsonville?
Edward Jones in Donaldsonville. I'm in the original one.
Uh-huh.
Right? So there are people like me. We can move across the river. We can move around the world. Doesn't matter. Every time we make a penny, it goes to Edward Jones in Donaldsonville. Donaldsonville has a lot of money. All those people that work at the plants, right? I call them
That'd be the ones that don't live in Donaldsonville, the ones that go across the river to live.
That's right. But guess where they still put their money?
Edward Jones in Donaldsonville. Why not in Prairieville? Why not in Gonzales? Why not in Duplessis?
When they opened up the thing where their mama went down the street and this and that, they opened up the thing, and that's where they always put it. Why change? You understand? Why move it? Because Edward Jones is conservative, right? They don't take chances in the whole thing. You put your money in, the money grows, and that's that, right? You buy spider indexes and you just keep buying them, and they just keep growing, and before you know it, you got money. They have so much money in Donaldsonville that they don't know what to, yet it's the poorest community you've ever seen. It's a weird thing, right? I mean, one of the richest men in Louisiana was in Donaldsonville. He's no longer with us, Mr. Urso.
Well, I visited him when he was living on St. Charles in New Orleans. I went to see him a couple of times because he was such a benefactor to so many people and to LSU.
LSU, look, Ascension Catholic High School would not exist if it wasn't for money from E.J. Urso. That's a fact, right?
Did you go to CHS or DHS?
I went to ACHS. I wanted to go to DHS. I wanted to play for C.J. Alexander so badly. I really did. But we had a weird winning tradition. That little school, it's the little school that can when it comes to football. We had some kind of weird winning tradition. I mean, we did what we did, and we got there. All the other cool kids that went to college and then the pros, they all played for CJ.
Uh-huh.
Right? The Greens, Jarvis and the other one.
Jarvis and
and Donald Ray Thomas and Alvin Thomas. Alvin went to LSU. I went to Tulane with Donald Ray. There was a lot of athletes that came out of that town. I don't know about now, but back then we all did.
We've had a couple of basketball players. We've had I want to say we've had a couple of baseball players, but I can't name names.
Yeah, you guys have the best baseball enthusiast of all from Donaldsonville. You got old leather lungs, Chris Gia.
Chris, he's not just in baseball. He's basketball. He's gymnastics. He's on the spot.
I grew up with the kid. He's something else. Well, look, I could sit here all day and talk to you about Muffler Jimbroni and Chumpy and Chris and Beezy and everyone else. But the fact, there's so much I want to talk to you about. The balance beam. It showed up when you guys moved into that apartment. I didn't know who you were. I didn't know you guys from Adam. I just saw a balance beam. And I might remember more about that balance beam than you did because my cousins, the Daninos, lived, we were one house over, and then it was the Daninos in that building where you guys were. One day a balance beam shows up, and I see you walking across this balance beam. And then you were teaching other young girls. I don't know, it was probably Nancy and some of Nancy's friends. You were coaching before you were coaching. You had other girls walking back and forth across that balance beam, having them do backflips or whatever. And I would just stand at the corner of that red brick house, the Daninos, and watch. I would watch you guys because I was interested in movement. I was interested in sports. I was interested in everything. And as soon as you guys would leave and nobody was around, I got my ass on that balance beam. I went balance on that same piece of wood that you had back there.
Yeah, yeah.
And I also remember at one point, you did an exhibition. either at a Central Catholic junior high or high school where you had, I remember you had an uneven parallel bar out there, maybe some rings or some floor X or something else.
Wouldn't have been rings. No, we did an exhibition, I think, at Sister Marie's bequest.
Yeah, who was my first grade teacher, by the way. Yeah.
I had Sister Roseanne.
So you went to a Central Catholic and?
I went to St. Vincent.
Okay.
And then after St. Vincent, Daddy gave us a choice, and we could either stay there or go to public, and I went to the public school.
Okay, because I know Nancy and Janie came to our school.
Right.
ACHF.
Right.
But I remember seeing an exhibition and thinking that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. Right? That was back near the time of Olga Corbett and all these people doing like crazy stuff in the, because my whole world as a kid was Wide World of Sports.
I think every kid was.
I mean, the
thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
The human drama of athletic competition. Yeah. I wrote about it. I don't know if you know this. You don't know this. I wrote a book. It was this crazy bestseller and I talked about growing up on the bayou, and my only outlet outside of the bayou was Wide World of Sports. I mean, you could be sitting there on a Saturday afternoon and they would take you right to Kitzbühel, right? And you were watching ski jumping from Kitzbühel. And I would say to myself, I want to go to Kitzbühel. I didn't realize this is where Hitler was killing people back in the war. I just wanted to go there because they made it look good, right? Wide World of Sports opened up everything for everyone. And it also showed us people like Olga Corbett, who I would go, oh my God, look at what that woman's doing.
She was a phenom.
Yeah, I mean, just crazy. I mean, if I remember right, and correct me because you know history of gymnastics, there was a movement that she did in the World Championships or the Olympics that they outlawed after she did it.
Yeah.
It was like
she did a backflip off of her feet. She did a backflip and came and caught the bar. What they did was they outlawed doing any skills off of your feet, which stopped you from standing on the bar. So that was outlawed after her Olympics and her gold medal.
So was it just because it was that dangerous? Because it all looks dangerous to me.
Well, it was going to set a precedent that would probably lead to more dangerous skills. But standing on the bar, flipping and coming back to the bar and grabbing it, now, you know, with all the difficulty and everything that we do now in gymnastics, that seems like, well, that's pretty safe. Because if you miss it, you just miss the bar. But the whole thing was standing on the bar and using it to bounce and jump off because the bar was a little bit flexible.
Yeah, because I just saw in this Olympics where the Winter Olympics where this kid, this incredible skater, he did the backflip in competition and landed on one skate, and they went, "Oh, that's illegal." It's like, but he did it, and I'm loving it.
Yeah,
you know, I love looking at movement. I love watching people do stuff. So you go to LSU at some point. How do you get there? But what happens that gets you to LSU?
Well, LSU didn't have a gymnastics program. So when I was in high school, first of all, when I was starting gymnastics, I had a little one time a week program in Donaldsonville on Sister Marie's front porch. And then it had more kids. So we went to the KC Hall and went to different venues, but I enjoyed the acrobatic part of it. So my mother was asked by Miss Powell Moes, Sherry Harris, if I would go to Baton Rouge and do my dancing classes in Baton Rouge and join the gymnastics team. And so because I love the acrobatic part of, I wanted to. And so my mother started bringing me once a week. Now, let's remember how it was when we were kids. There was no Sunshine Bridge. There was no new bridge in Baton Rouge. There was a ferry in Donaldsonville, a ferry in White Castle, a ferry in Plaquemine, and a ferry in Baton Rouge. So, you know, you rode the river road and took the ferry. So that was a once a week journey. And then it became twice a week and then 3 times a week. And I outgrew that program and went to the Junior Olympics and did really well, won a couple of events and first or second in the all around 1969. That's a long time ago. one of the Olympic coaches was coaching at Southeastern. So he asked me if I wanted to come and train with him at Southeastern, but I was like a sophomore in high school. And of course, I'm driving to Baton Rouge. I shouldn't drive to Hammond. So my mother would bring me, and now, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But then Wayne Harp was going to visit his brother once a week. And I said, Mom, I can just ride with Wayne and we can study on the way. So Wayne started driving me to Hammond once or twice a week, and we could study because he didn't have to look at a book. He was brilliant. And, I would read the assignment and we'd answer the questions and go through the stuff while he was driving. And he'd go visit his little brother that was at the home in in Hammond. And I'd go to practice. And then I would go on Thursday. Mr. Keith Falcon would let me miss school half a day on Thursday and all day Friday. And then parents would pick me back up on Sunday and my week would start again. But from there, I hurt my knee in the 1972 cycle for, trying out for the Olympics. And my coach said, hey, you know what? You're hurt. We're not going to, cry over that. There's nothing we can do about it. I want you to coach with me. So I started coaching, and, I really thought I was going to go to PT school. I really wanted to go to therapy school. And I don't know if you remember my brother, Peter. He had an industrial accident in the summer of 74.
I remember you had like 3 or 4 brothers and they all looked identical to me.
They're totally different. They don't look alike at all. But anyway,
one of them had a motorcycle that he used, and I thought it was so cool. It was like a Honda 350 or something.
No, that was Mike Person that had that motorcycle. My parents never gave us a motorcycle. We had a mini bike. Now we did have a mini bike.
Maybe it was that. It was like I remember something like that.
It was a mini bike, and we could ride it on the levee. And if the guys had to serve mass, they could ride the mini bike and go serve mass and bring it back home, and then they'd get ready to go to school. But anyway, so in 74, my brother had an accident. It was a summer job, and he ended up in the hospital at the lake, the old lake hospital here in Baton Rouge.
Original lake.
And I made the decision then, I'm at Southeastern and the coach is no longer there. He was leaving to go to Mississippi for something. And so I just, I said, you know what, I'm going to transfer to LSU. That'll put me closer to home. If my parents need help, if my brother does come through this, it's going to be a very long recovery, if at all a recovery. So I went and got my stuff from Southeastern. I transferred it to LSU and finished my undergraduate degree, and then started my master's because I didn't have a job. I was coaching gymnastics at a little local recreation program, and I was running the state gymnastics organization, which didn't pay anything, and I was judging. I had a national rated judge, so I was judging and making a little bit of money doing that. And then I get a phone call one day from Carl Maddox. I'm sitting out by the swimming pool with my dad, and the phone rings, and I said, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I don't know if I can do that. I've signed a contract with St. Joseph. I'm going to take somebody's place that's going to go on maternity leave, and I don't know if I can leave them in a lurch like that. And he said, well, think about it and call me back. So I hung up the phone, and my daddy goes, what was that? And I told him, I said, well, it was Carl Maddox. And I said, he's the athletic director at LSU, and he wants me to come interview for the job. And daddy's like, whoa, St. Joseph's Academy, LSU. That's no choice. Call him back and tell him you'll go interview. So I did, and interviewed with Pat Newman, and she had interviewed, I think it was the third of 3 people, and she offered me the job. And of course, we had no facility, no budget, very few scholarships, but we were going to varsity. It was going to go from being a club. So I had a few athletes, and actually had some pretty good ones, because one of them was Jeannie Beadle, who had won the national championship the year before on balance beam. So I was getting her on this new team, and it was going to be varsity, and had no facility. So Bill Bankhead and Ernie Hill kind of got together and was working with Pat Newman to try to help me find a place to work, to train. So we took a corner of the field house, which eventually turned in from a corner to one whole side of the field house. So anytime Charlie Mack would bring the rain in inclement weather, it was the indoor football practice facility. It was the indoor intramurals facility. At night, there were 4,000 kids in there, and we had it stanchioned off. So it wasn't It wasn't the best, but it was the best LSU could do at the time. So, that's how we started. No facility, no nothing, no equipment budget, no nothing. And we just kind of built it from there.
And that was 1978?
I started in 77, but my first competitive season was 78.
Because, all right, so Title IX was already enacted.
It was already a law. It was already a law. It had been signed into law in 72, but it took it a while to get down the river.
Yeah, because I remember when I was at Tulane, my girlfriend was the captain of the ladies volleyball team. And I saw.
Team or club? Was it a club or a team?
No, it was a team. All the girls on the team were on scholarship. But that was about where it ended, right? So it was a volleyball team.
And y'all had a women's basketball team. We had a women's basketball team and a volleyball team at LSU.
Were they club? Was it club?
Volleyball was a club. Gymnastics was a club. Basketball was varsity. And they were in the process of elevating the gymnastics and the volleyball into team status.
Right. And I just remember them, they were all on full rides, but that was it. That was kind of where it ended. Right?
Well, basketball might have been, but volleyball, they were an equivalency sport. Maybe not. Maybe they were a head count. They were a head count sport at the time. You're right. They probably were on full scholarship.
Yeah, I was there. I started in the fall of 81. So, they were all on scholarship, but they did not get, we ate on training table. The football team had everything, right? And the way it was looked at was, well, you guys put asses in seats and they cost us money. That was just the way the university, and I would get this from my girlfriend, right? And it was like, this is not fair. These women are working just as hard as we are, right? And they're not getting what we're getting. And that's when I first came into the whole Title IX thing and realizing what Title IX was and how it worked. But you guys weren't even at that level. You were one step, you were an intramural sport basically, right?
Before I came, it was an intramural club sport. Yeah.
How do you can't even get money to recruit at that level. How do you even recruit?
Well, when I first started, it was AIW, Association for Intercollegiate Athletics for Women. And at that point, we could actually have kids pay their way to come, and they could actually try out on campus. So it was different. But when we became an NC2A sport, and I think that may have happened in 81, when we became an NC2A sport, then the rules changed, and we could pay for the kids to come to campus, but they could not train. They could not practice. We couldn't watch them on campus. We still had to go and see them. So the rules kind of changed. So at first it was one way, and then it changed after 81.
It's amazing. I want to continue with this. I got to do a quick ad. You get a Cajun on the other mic and you forget to do your own ads. Folks, Jasper.co/Vinnie, JASPR. Don't put an E in there. JASPR. Jasper.co/Vinnie. You want to save $300, put my name in, VINNIE, no wimpy Y. Do it every single time. If you forget to put it in at the beginning, when you get to checkout, put in Vinnie, and you will save $300. $300. Look, folks, you do a lot of stuff for $300. You can almost pay for a scholarship for some kid at LSU. Jasper.co/Vinnie, JASPR.co/Vinnie. Go check it out right now. Look, you guys know the story. I have one sitting in my office. They gave it to me just to try out. And after a year on my rowing machine, that impeller in my rowing machine did not need to be cleaned. It wasn't picking up any dust or anything in the room because this air purifier was just cleaning everything. As a matter of fact, they get upset when I call it an air purifier because it's an air scrubber. Jasper.co/Vinnie. Go check it out right now and save $300. We're talking to D-D Breaux, Sarah D-D Breaux. The movie is called The Fighting Tiger. I think you can watch it on YouTube for free. I think I watched it on ESPN Sports or somewhere like that because I figured, hey, just go there. She's in sports. So, Dee, you know, you guys start recruiting. You probably can't get the best. You probably have a ragtag at the beginning. Look, I remember being recruited. If I went to Mississippi State, if I went to LSU, if I went to Tulane, if I went to, Ole Miss, any of the schools that would invite me, they would roll out the red carpet. As a matter of fact, they would roll out the red carpet for me, and they would tell you to bring a friend with you, right? There was girls, there was everything, right? They did everything for us. I'm guessing you guys don't get that same kind of money to bring kids in.
Not at first, but you also probably were offered a fabulous summer job too.
You were offered, you had benefactors, let's say.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I worked at the Orleans Parish prison. My job was to sit on the roof with a shotgun. There was zero chance of any prisoner ever coming up there. It was a shotgun with rubber bullets. And I had a radio, and I would bring magazines with me, and I was able to take a nap in an air-conditioned space, and I got paid.
Tough, huh?
Yeah, well, you had to have air conditioning because after that, they wanted to keep you in town in the summertime so that you can go work out, right? Which was illegal, but that's what they did, right? There was so much illegal going on. I mean, every time you held your hand out, a benefactor would take you out for dinner, and they would shake your hand and you would pull back an envelope with several $100s in it, sometimes a lot more. And depending on how good you were, you would end up, it's like, wait, that kid was from the inner city. He just got a brand new Trans Am. How does that work?
How does that happen? That's amazing.
Look at that. Guy caught a few passes last week. Now he's got a brand new.
Well, you see, that right there is still not acceptable.
Right.
And what was such a travesty then was the jobs that were given to these young men, and they didn't have to go. A lot of them just got paid. They were payroll jobs, and some of the kids went. Some of those young men actually went and did those jobs. So jobber program. So basically, what's happening now is that has morphed itself because of people like Jimbo Fisher that decides to pay his entire line, and it becomes this collective thing that, football seems to, and men's basketball seems to be able to create and morph things that's a good idea, and morph it into something that is absolutely horrible. And what's happening now is this morphing thing where we're paying athletes millions of dollars to come to a college campus. Some of them are paying big money just to get them to come visit your campus. So it's not where NIL was supposed to be. What it is now is not the target mark for what NIL was. NIL was really supposed to be what Flau'jae Johnson is doing, what Livy Dunn did. That's NIL as it's supposed to be done. Kids take the initiative to create a job, use their looks, use their creativity, use their talents, use their name, their image to create a market for themselves. But for universities to be able to create these markets is not what the intention was.
I remember back when I first got to Tulane, I became good friends with a kid. He was one of our star running backs, a kid named Reggie Reginelli. And Reggie...
I think it was Run, Reggie, Run. Wasn't that what the... Run, Reggie, Run.
And his father, I ended up coaching with his father, Tony Reginelli, over at Newman School. When I got out of college, I worked at Newman School for several years with Coach Reginelli, who... I don't think any other high school coach has two players who became NFL MVPs and Super Bowls, except Tony Reginelli. He had the Manning kids. At any rate, I get to campus. Reggie and I are good friends, and it's like, wait a minute. Everybody in the stands have on Reggie Reginelli jersey, number 33. The school's making millions of bucks. Everybody's making money. His name, his picture is on the program, Reggie, the whole thing. And it's like, but Reggie doesn't get any money. Matter of fact, if Reggie got hurt, he's hurt. He's done. They'll find another Reggie Reginelli, right? And I started yelling and screaming because that's who I am. I'm like a little D-D Breaux. I start yelling, are we the last slaves on the planet? Everyone around this sport is getting paid except us. We put our necks on the line. You can literally break your neck or die in the sport. Yet we get nothing. And if you get hurt, they'll find a way to take your scholarship away. Our wives
your education and your degree didn't have value, Vinnie? That had a value. And you walked out of that graduation and in that graduation ground and that graduation, you had a saleable skill. Tulane University is as fine as any university education you can get.
But here's the thing. I have a degree in exercise physiology. I was going down the same road as you. I was heading towards PT school. Mike Fiducia, Ricky Goff, who was from Baton Rouge, Bill Lickenstein, the only Jew on the team, Reggie Reginelli, Donald Ray Thomas. I named everybody out of 100 people that had a degree. What happened to the other 90? You think they got degrees?
They forgot to go to class. They didn't go to class. They didn't finish their degree. That's on them.
But they couldn't. Most of them could barely spell their own names. Let's be honest.
Well, but back then they were remediating. Back then there were remedial classes on your campus and mine to elevate and lift these kids and get them ready.
They didn't even do that. There was no way to get these kids. Like I said, I just named a couple. I named the one Jew, a couple of Italians, and a black kid that got degrees. Period. No one else got a degree. Charlie Dunn. I'm sorry. I thought of another one. No one else got a degree. Randy Hubble. Okay, now I got about 8.
I got another one. We stay at this long enough. We're gonna have a class of graduating football players.
Out of 100 people, that's not a lot of people, right? You get promised an education, but they don't do a whole lot to help these people get it because they can't.
Are you talking about Tulane? Because you're not talking about LSU, because we have one of the finest academic readiness programs. We can remediate, we can get kids ready for any class. If they're on the road, they can zoom in to their class and not miss their class. We have the state-of-the-art academic center and great people running it. And have for a long, long time.
I'm glad they have that now, but I got to be honest with you. When I was in school, the word Zoom did not exist.
Well, it wasn't Zooming. It was you could watch it on a video feed or something. But my kids never missed. My kids never missed.
God, we had to fight. I had to fight to get an education. I'm going to be honest, and that's Tulane. You would think they would win more.
Yeah, you would think, because LSU has, but you know what? Philosophically, our coaches, I know at some period there's been a blank period in there when it became more about pumping out athletes, but our graduation rate at LSU has gotten better and better and better and better. Even baseball players come back now and get their degree. I mean, I'm on Paul Skeens every time I see him. Paul, we got to get your degree. You can't be in the Hall of Fame if you don't have your degree. So, I mean, there's a lot of merit. And I mean, Shaq came back and got his degree. We've got tons of football players, basketball and baseball players that come back and get their degree.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I mean, back in the day, one of the guidance counselors came to me and they said, "Hey, could you help?" Hot Rod Williams was from Louisiana. He was from Ascension Parish, and they said, "Could you help Rod? Could you help him out with his studies?" And I'm like, he doesn't want to study. I can't make nicest man in the world, by the way. Ended up having a great pro career, made a lot of money.
Where is he now?
He passed away.
Okay.
Rod passed away. I don't know if it was heart disease or cancer or something. Wonderful man. Really was. Not very interested in going to class. right?
Yeah.
They just didn't push it back then. You know, he made it his 4 years and they skated him along and then he went to the pros. And then that was that.
And never look back.
No, he didn't
He
have
never
to.
looked back.
Never look back.
But, you know, I think part of the problem we're going to have now is these kids transferring and, you know, the whole NIL and transfer portal and all of that. They're skipping, they're jumping from school to school, and it gets hard. The coach fussed at me. The coach, you know, pushed me too hard. The coach did this. I'm leaving. I'm not getting enough playtime. I'm leaving. And that's not just happening in football. That's happening in a lot of different sports. And at the end of the day, when they transfer, are they getting all that credit? Are they losing credit along the way? Are they substituting classes? And I know the schools that want them are trying to help them in that process, but they're going to turn around at the end of 4 years or 5 years if they get an extra year and not have a degree. And what's that percentile that makes it into the pros? That small percentile.
Less than 1%.
They're not going to be in that percentage.
Yeah. It's sad. And I knew a lot of guys that were counting on that. There was one guy, I tell the story all the time. We called him, you know, Money Man Griff. He was a wide receiver. He was definitely going pro. One of his last games, he messed up his knee just enough.
Yeah.
A couple of years later, I was at the New Orleans Aquarium right after it just opened. And I heard someone, "Hey, Vinnie." And I looked around. I didn't see anyone. "Vinnie, over here." And I looked. Griff is wearing a damn security uniform. You know, and that's it. He had no degree, no nothing, never made it to the pros. Made me feel bad.
And he didn't get a degree. Shame on Tulane.
Yeah.
If he did not want to get a degree, that's shame on him. But if that man wanted to get a degree and he came back to LSU and wanted to get a degree, he'd get a degree.
You know what?
He'd get tutored, he'd get helped, he'd get supported.
And by the way, I have no love for Tulane. I don't feel like I owe them. People are like, "Hey, Tulane just went to this bowl and that bowl." I was like, I don't care. I got my degree. I got out. I have no love for it. Right. I have as much love for LSU. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. I just want to see these kids do well. The part of the film that I didn't know about you, and you brought it up a couple of times, is the whole NIL thing. You were right there at the beginning of that. You had mentioned Olivia Dunn. Also, Angel Reese seemed to have done well with that. What was that like at the beginning? Because I looked it up the other day. Oh, no, it was actually in your movie. It said Olivia Dunn had over 9 million people. And I was just watching the Olympics, and they said that Uta Dam only had 6 million or 4 million. And then after the Olympics, she had 6 million. I was like, wait a minute. I thought she was a bigger deal than that worldwide. And it turns out that Olivia Dunn was even bigger than that.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, there's an art to creating the following. You have to work at it. You have to have the right algorithm. You have to use the right words when you're posting things. And Libby's mom and Libby's sister has worked very hard with her, and her dad's a lawyer, to develop that following. And before she came to LSU, she had a pretty significant following. And they called Pat Koenig, our senator, and he had taken a bill, put it on the floor the year before, and it didn't go anywhere. And so he said, "Will Senator Koenig present another bill and move forward with it? And will Dee sit with me? I want Dee with me when we present it. We take it to committee and get it out of committee and get it on the floor. I want her sitting up there because people know her and she can talk to people and ask questions and they can answer questions, whatever." And so Stephanie Remp, who was our deputy athletic director here, was very instrumental in putting the right people in place and the right wording and the right preparation and the right knowing the rules and knowing where we want to go and knowing what LSU needed to do. She asked me if I would be willing to do that because I had just retired. And I'm like, absolutely, I'll do whatever I can. I believe in NIL. I think it's a good thing. And your story about your number 33 football player, that's why NIL is a good thing. Now you can't buy, you can buy a football jersey that has number 18 on it, but no name. You can buy an LSU gymnastics leotard in our gift shop, but there's no name on it. And that's only right. And if Haley Bryant doesn't want to sign an autograph, she doesn't have to sign an autograph. But if she wants to charge for that autograph, she can charge for that. I get it. But the NIL thing, when Pat Connick wrote that bill and it passed the legislature, it was a pure NIL bill. And Libby, worked it and stayed within the boundaries of what she was allowed to do as a student athlete at LSU, and shared her information and shared her skill with anybody that wanted to listen, to help other student athletes. And she actually, her foundation gives to the foundation at LSU, to the NIL fund here at LSU to help gymnastics. So it's a great thing when it's what it's supposed to be. But when it's not, it's bad.
Yeah, and it looks like I'm worried that it's heading in the wrong direction with the portal. You look at the portal and how fast these kids can move. Back in my day, if you wanted to leave Tulane and go to LSU, first thing, you had to leave the school, go to the other school, and then sit out a year.
Yeah.
Right? Sitting out a year in football might as well be your career is over with.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And but yeah, it was impossible. Now these kids can be playing on one team and then.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual to hear somebody like 4 times played at 4 different schools, and it makes no sense to me. But when you have a hard driving coach, a coach that demands, a Nick Saban kind of coach, I was demanding. I wanted people to be as committed to their scholarship, committed to gymnastics and academics as I was. Kim Mulkey, she expects those kids to be as committed as she is, and that's only right. But at the same time, the kid has the right to leave. If they're not happy, they can leave. And it's not always about being happy, Vinny. Sometimes it's about accepting the responsibility that comes with the job.
Yeah. Yeah, life is not easy. I tell that to people. It's not fair. It's not easy. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do. One of my favorite parts of the documentary, and I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Well, I'm going to save it. I'm going to do a quick ad first. I'm going to do a little.
I like your ads, by the way.
I appreciate it. Oh, by the way, do you like olive oil?
I love olive oil.
Well, hang on just a second. I got some olive oil for you. Villa Capelli olive oil, the longest running sponsor on this show. Villa Capelli. Folks, listen. Paul Capelli started Villa Capelli, and just like most Italians, he's talking to me. I thought he was BSing. Villa Capelli, most of the companies in America, they put seed oils and everything, and you don't have to list it. Well, I went and checked. Turns out, in the good old US of A, you could put up to 40% of any other kind of oil in an olive oil and still call it 100% pure, unadulterated.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, you could put virgin, put whatever you want, as long as 60% of it is olive oil. The rest of it could be anything. Villa Capelli is 100% pure olive oil. Now, folks, listen. Don't call and cry to me if you go, they're out of olive oil again. When the trees stop making olives, they stop pressing oil. They don't buy it from some third world country and bring it in. They give you the fresh stuff from Puglia. If you guys check it out, that's where the Stallone family's from, Puglia. Right next to where my family was from, which was Calabria. Go check it out.
Is that on Maine, Italy, or is that in Sicily, where David and Matassa's family's from?
Okay, so the Matassas, we're in an ad here, but here we go.
Okay, I'm sorry.
my dad and the Matassas, they came on that same boat.
Uh-huh.
They're from Sicily. My dad is from Bissaquin. My mom is from Reggio Calabria, which is the part that's kicking, the part of the boot that's kicking Sicily. And then Puglia is right around where the heel would be on the boot.
Okay, so it's genuine Italian olive oil.
All Southern olive oil, folks.
Say
and
that.
It's 100%. You want to get this stuff. Listen, don't mess around. Get a 3-liter 10. Just get a 3. Listen, if you spend more than $140, I did the math.
I got to write that down.
If you spend $150, you get free shipping. If you put my name in, you get 10% on top of that. Villa, Villa. I'm spelling it for Miss Breaux here.
Okay.
Capelli, Cappelli, Villa Capelli, promo
One
code
word.
Vinny.
One word.
Yeah, villacapelli.com. Dee, you're going to call me next week and go, oh my God, this stuff, it tastes like salad dressing by itself. It's got like they call it the Puya pinch. It's got so much phenol in it, you feel it in your throat. I take this stuff as a supplement, folks. I don't wait for a salad. I just drink it because that's what Italians do. Villa Capelli, Vinnie, saves you 10% every time. Don't put a wimpy Y on there. They won't give you a discount. You got to put the IE on the end. Vinnie, Villa Capelli. You know, when I was a kid.
Wait, C-A-P? Spell it again.
Cappelli. Villa Capelli.
And it's one word.
Yeah, Villa, Villa Capelli. You know, like House of Capelli. And then, you know, when I was a kid, my grandmother used to put olive oil in our hair and everywhere else. And then we wonder why they called us greasy Italians. We just couldn't escape it. My favorite.
Okay, so
part,
and I get a 10% discount if I mention your name?
Yeah, 10% right off the top. You got it?
I got it.
Okay, so Dee, my favorite part of the documentary is, and I can't remember which athletic director or someone came in there and they said, hey, Dee, you just won a championship. You get a bonus. And you were like, wait, bonus? Yeah. You should have gotten a bonus for every one of your championships. And you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, well, take the bonus money I would have gotten and put it into the program. How does that work? I don't know if I could do that.
That was Skip. That was Skip after he became the athletic director. And, you know, I'm like, okay, so every time we even go to the championships, there's a bonus. Every time you go to SECs and you place 1, 2, or 3, there's a bonus. And I had not been getting them. And I said, you know, Skip, I haven't ever gotten a bonus. And he said, well, you're going to start getting them now. And I said, what about all those back bonuses? Can we just like lump that up and put it in the budget? And he goes, that's not how it works. But we're starting now. And if you know Skip, I mean, it's like, well, that's not how it works. We're starting now, new beginning and moving forward. So, but it was a revelation.
It's crazy that you were kept out of that, right? Can we think of any other female coach? I mean, there was a basketball coach somewhere at some point that was like the winningest coach. Was she at Tennessee or somewhere?
Oh, Pat Summit. Yeah. She was amazing. But she had great leadership. She had incredible. Now she had battles to fight. I'm not going to say she didn't. She fought some battles and built a dynasty. And but she had an athletic administrator that really worked hard and supported her all along her journey.
Yeah, and I know a part of your story because we talked about it off the air, and I'm not going to talk ill about the deceased, but there was a mutual friend. Well, I don't know if he's a friend of yours, but he was a friend of mine who didn't do a whole hell of a lot to help you. And you know, just knowing that just pisses me off in ways that you can't even imagine. But
you know, from there, things got so much better. Things got so good. And, you know, went from Skip Bertman to Joe Oliva. And he built with Tiger Athletic Foundation, we built the finest gymnastics training center in the world. I mean, and people try to build one, but they can't build one today that's like the one that our gymnastics program now enjoys. So, I mean, things got from bad to the best it could possibly ever be. And my salary grew from Skip's point of view, and Board of Supervisors people, you know, went in and said, you know what, we're not going to sign another man's contract until the female coaches get a contract. And mine got fixed, and it grew, and it got better and better.
When you walk on the field at the football games, you're like a superhero. You're like a rock star now. What does that feel like to know that, you know, your humble beginnings, you wanted to be a great coach, and now you mentioned D-D Breaux anywhere around LSU, and you're a rock star. But that's gotta change you in certain ways, right?
Well, I mean, it feels good. It feels good to be appreciated. But I said earlier, I think I said that I'm head of the advisory council for our human science and education department here at LSU, and that's one of the things. When I retired, Scott Woodward and Stephanie Rimp said, "We want you to do everything you've ever done before, but not coach, and we're going to pay you extra, and you're going to get your great retirement, and you're going to love it." And I have loved it. I have enjoyed every task that they've asked me to do, every speaking commitment, everything they've asked me to do, and to step in front of that student section and have them recognize me and appreciate me. But time has passed, and now the students have turned over, so there's not as much of that. But I go up in the stadium club because before I retired, for many, many years, I went up to Stadium Club every football game, and I offered to bring other coaches with me. And you walk in and you just cold call, shake hands, talk to people, tell them, "Thank you so much. I know you're in Tiger Athletic Foundation. I know the contributions you made to the university," and build relationships. And when they put that shovel in the ground and did the groundbreaking for our gymnastics training center, a lot of those people remembered where I came from and how I built that program and said, "We want to make a donation. We want to help." So every event in the training center, every area up there has a name on it. Laura and Buddy Leach, huge donation for our outer deck. Upstairs, we have a whole reception area upstairs. And these are the things that other schools can't build. They can't put tailgate deck. They can't build this giant thing, and just raised over $1 million to add some offices over there because we're busting at the seams here in the office building. So, it's a great time to be a Tiger. Our brand is so good, and gymnastics is we have a great meet tonight, 8:00 tonight on ESPN. LSU #2 takes on Oklahoma #1. It's awesome.
I love hearing this. I love a great come from behind story. Do you ever see yourself retiring, or are they going to have to bring you out of their feet first?
I am retired. I mean, they ask me to do things, and I show up. I go to things
right now. You're there now. I'm talking to you from LSU. How retired can you possibly be?
Well, and when I leave here, I'm going over to the softball stadium because we have a softball. We play UL this evening in softball, and the gymnastics meet is at 8:00. I'm going to go to Walk-Ons for a watch party at Walk-Ons. So, I mean, I am retired, but I did fish this past Tuesday. I went to Grand Isle. I didn't catch anything. It was terrible. One redfish. I caught one redfish. I went on Sunday and came back for Ash Wednesday, and I fished on Tuesday. It's only the second time I've done it and everybody said, "What are you going to do when you retire?" I want to fish on Tuesdays.
So I saw you in your little kayak. It looks like one of those Hobie cats where you can.
It's a Hobie. It's a beast. It's a great kayak.
Are you doing that kind of fishing where they drag you around like Old Man in the Sea?
Ride the bulls?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've competed in the Ride the Bulls a couple of times, and it takes a Bridgeside Marina. You put in there, and it's like 750 of your closest kayak friends. So you're bouncing off of each other, and somebody, the wind will blow their hat off, and they're like, "Hey, coach, would you go get my hat?" And I'm like, "Why do I have to go get your hat?" Well, you're the only one I know around here, So, but it's a lot of fun, and Grand Isle has rebuilt after Ida. It has redefined itself. So next time you come home, Vinny, come to Grand Isle.
I'm going to tell you a little secret about me. I grew up down there, and I've never been to Grand Isle. I've never gone to Grand Isle ever. My cousins, all the Latinas and everybody, they, Donna.
Well, a lot of them, like Matasas, they have places on Bell River. They look closer to home. Pier Park.
Yeah, my brother has a camp in Pier Park, and every time I go home, I go there and with the jet skis and skiing and everything, I go there.
I tell you what, you just invite me to go to Bell River, to go to Pier Park, and then because growing up, we built a houseboat, and my daddy did. We helped him and put it in Bell River. We had a houseboat at Bell River.
Is this still there?
God, no, this was years ago. No, somebody bought it when we stopped going. Daddy sold it and turned it into a duck camp, and that was the end of it.
All right,
Hey,
so
I need to know
yeah,
your mama, Miss
yeah,
Marie. She looks like she's like 75 years old.
yeah.
She's
She did.
amazing.
All right, so my mom should have been dead several times, and most of her life towards the end of teaching and everything, they both taught for over 35 years
Where'd your mama teach?
at Donaldsonville. She was
But
at Donaldsonville, but she was in the primary,
she
and
was okay. See,
yeah,
I wasn't at the primary public school. I was there 7th grade and on.
yeah. So you just missed my mom. They were there at the beginning of segregation, all that stuff. They
Me
were
too.
brand new teachers, and my mom taught when the school was on Railroad Avenue. She was in that
Yeah.
building,
Okay. Yeah.
and my mom, while she was teaching, she and Grace Ano, they were best friends, and Joni Guillat. That was
Uh-huh.
like Joni and Grace.
I love Miss Joni. I loved some Miss
Oh,
Joni.
she was something else.
Okay,
And
what's your mama's best recipe? What's the best thing that she cooks?
oh God, probably. And by the way, she's lost an edge, but she still does it. Lasagna, shrimp fettuccine, and um, stuffed artichokes. The Italian stuffed artichokes.
Oh,
Oh
my
my God!
mother grew up in Tennessee, Vinny, and
Yeah.
she cooked country. But when she moved to Donaldsonville and she was exposed to that Italian and that Lebanese and all of that, she became the most incredible cook. And my favorite thing was stuffed artichokes.
I
So
can't.
I need to tell your mama I want a stuffed artichoke next time she cooks it.
I eat one per year because my whole thing is no sugars, no grains. I've had a whole career telling people not to eat sugar and grains, but that's the one thing I'll eat with a grain is an artichoke.
Is an
Um,
artichoke.
but I built a kayak a few years. I'm a big kayaker.
Oh,
Um,
good for you.
but
Well,
I
then
used
you
to
do
go.
want to come to Grand Isle.
But here's the thing. I'm going to send you a picture. I got you. We're going to be friends now with this text.
Okay.
I'm going to send you a picture of the wooden kayak I built.
I want to see
Uh,
it. Yeah.
yes. I built it to do the bayou from Donaldsonville to Grand Isle.
So it must be
So
more of a bateau
it's a
or a,
kayak. So I used to kayak out in the Pacific Ocean when I was out in LA. So I have what's called sea kayaks, and they call them surf
uh-huh.
skis. So these things are very skinny. In other
Yeah.
words, they barely stay up. Like there's no chine on them at all. So they're built like a barrel. And so when you're out there on the surf ski, you're riding each wave down. You're riding each wake down to the next out in the
Uh-huh.
ocean.
Yeah.
Well, when I built the one, see if I can find a quick picture of it. I built the one for
What
the
kind of wood
bayou.
did you use? What kind of wood did you use?
I used white cedar and red cedar, and I had one of the best kayak builders in the world let me use his shop. And I live in Charlottesville. I drove to Richmond. It took me 320 hours to build it. And this guy, Joey Schott, who's one of the best builders in the world, I wanted to build a cedar strip kayak to match the ones that a lot of people down in Raceland and all that, they have small wooden boat festivals.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's
I
kind of like a
knew,
pirogue. Is it like a pirogue?
no, it's a kayak. I'm going to send you, you got your phone sitting next to you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, while I'm doing this, I'm going to find a photo for you.
Okay.
So I built this thing just to go in the bayou because the kayaks I used in the ocean can tip over easily.
Yeah.
And when you tip over, there's water moccasins, and now they got alligators in that bayou.
Alligators. Yeah.
When I was a kid, they didn't have that many. You had to get past Thibodeau past the weir before you saw it. But by the way, they took the weir out. I don't know if you know that.
And by the way, they're opening up and building locks, better locks right there. So we're going to have more water in by Lafourche.
Well, they have to, because you see what people don't realize, and folks, this is a part of the podcast you guys can all hang up on. This is just me and Dee talking about old times. The part that people don't realize is that weir is what caused them to have to dredge that bayou up in Donaldsonville every 10 or 12 years, because the river still can't make it down. And that's
What was the reason? Why did they do that?
they wanted to slow it down. And that's also what caused the marsh, because I saw that picture of you. You were down in the marsh.
Yeah, I was in the marsh.
And I realized you were, even though I'd never been to Grand Isle, I was like, well, I used to go out in the marsh to get out to the Gulf of Mexico through the mouth of the Mississippi, through Lake Pontchartrain when I lived in New Orleans. And I went, oh, well, she's down in the marsh. When I saw that photo, it put a smile on my face. But that's why that bayou is the reason why we started losing that marshland.
Exactly.
Eroding. So they need to put it back.
They're spending about $98 million to put in a new pumping station to pump more water. Whoever's idea it was, Bayou Lafourche was a tributary of Mississippi River, and they blocked it off so it wouldn't flood all that farmland. But the farmland needed the flooding because that's where it got the nutrients from. So I mean, it's a whole Corps of Engineer thing.
Well, people don't realize that way back in the day, a lot of where the sugar cane is used to be rice. I mean, Donaldsonville had the rice mill.
Right.
Right. So,
but they put the small pumps in the bayou, and now the river doesn't flow into the bayou. They allow so much water, and it stopped all the flooding. Well, the flooding is what allowed the rice fields, and the rice fields also allowed crawfish.
Exactly. Some of my cousins stopped with their sugarcane, and they just started doing crawfish ponds. They just started digging out and just flooding and doing crawfish.
Well, I asked your mom when I saw her yesterday. I'm like, okay, so where did you come from, your family? And she goes, remember the oyster place back in town? That was my family.
Papa Capote. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did that, and he also hauled the ice back when they had the ice house back then. And they called that area Froggy Mo. That's where the Italians were first. I just sent you 2 photos of the kayak I built.
Okay.
You have your phone sitting there?
Right here. Yep. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
So
it's a sit-in kayak.
Oh yeah.
This is awesome. Can you see that? Look at that. Yeah. That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's a lot of rubbing on that thing to get it to like that.
That is loving wood. Well, I was going to say, well, you know what? I've always wanted to take my kayak and start in Donaldsonville and take it all the way to Port Fourchon, but you can't do that in this kayak.
No, I can.
You'd be miserable. I could stand up on my kayak. You would be miserable. But we'd have to stop and spend the night probably in Thibodaux.
Well, no, we'd have to probably stop twice. I've thought about it. So we'd probably have to stop in Thibodaux. First off, I would call my friends over in Donaldsonville and say, look, turn those pumps up a little higher.
That's right. Yeah. But I would borrow a Hobie for you, so you would have a Hobie, and we would both have the same kind of kayak. And I have to be honest, I have a Taquito on mine.
What's a Taquito?
A little electric motor.
I can't do that.
I go 5 miles. I can go 5 miles out, look over my shoulder, and see this horrible storm coming in, and I can get back. But I mean, you can't use it in the marsh because you're in shallow water. But to race back in the canal and race back, it's a beauty.
Okay. Listen, if you want to do the bayou together, we'll do it.
Okay.
You said that on public airwaves here because everyone's going to hear this. You heard it.
And we're going to do it. And you'll broadcast. We'll broadcast from there. I can hook you up. We've got. Last night I was at the Thibodaux Tigers, the Booster Club in Thibodaux, and so they'll hook us up, feed us dinner. Well, it'll be great.
I got a brother in Thibodaux.
Well, there you go.
The bedrooms and everything.
Which brother is that?
Mark, my youngest brother. You probably never
no, I didn't know Mark.
You didn't even know me.
I do now because we're gonna do the bayou together.
Yeah, we have to. All right, so Dee, hang on, don't go away.
Another commercial?
No, I'm going to end the show, but you can't go away because we got to wait till this thing cooks and we get to talk to each other.
Okay.
All right. So, folks, go check out, and you got to put the whole title in there. The Fighting Tiger. You got to see what this woman's done in her life. I even told her the other, when I was a kid, I had a crush on her sister. Her sister's in there. Matter of fact, I'll tell you one quick story here on the way out. She had another sister who was a lifeguard. And I would regularly try to screw up on the high diving board over at Riverdale so that somehow Janie Breaux would have to come and grab me. The second time I tried that, she left me to drown. At any rate, you know what to do. We all go shopping on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner. It puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. We also have the workouts. Go to VinnieTortorich.com/workout. Go get that right now. Don't wait. You go, oh, yeah, I'll start working out next week and you'll forget. Go check out D-D Breaux and her movie. Folks, you know what? Just go to Wikipedia and see. You're going to be shocked at what this woman's done. And then go watch The Fighting Tiger. So on behalf of Janie Breaux, Janie, now I'm stuck on Janie.
You could have said Ann. She lives in Germany. I'll have to tell her to tune in.
Wait, Janie lives in Germany?
No, Ann lives in Germany.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. You guys got so many sisters.
Yeah, and Janie's a nurse here in Baton Rouge.
Please tell us that hi, and I'm sorry that I was too much when I was a kid.
And were you friends with Jimmy, with Jimmy Knoll?
Jim Knoll is and was still my best friend in the world. Jim, yeah.
He was another one of those drowning kids that my sister saved.
I'll tell you one more quick story for the crowd. So, all Jim and I ever cared about was putting on muscle and getting big for football and the whole thing. And we saw in Wide World of Sports, these guys in Hawaii, they were doing the boat with the outrigger on it, and they're paddling. These guys have big, giant shoulders.
Yeah.
We got a bateau, and we would paddle down the bayou down to the Palo Alto Bridge and then turn around and just go back against the current to build up our shoulders.
That's far. That's far.
Yeah, it was 2 miles. 2 miles from Palo Alto back to his house. And we would just do that just to get in shape. He was my best. You know, we were in Sister Marie's class together, first grade. And we've been friends ever since. He lives in Covington, Louisiana now. We'll talk about that off the air. Folks, on behalf of not Janie Breaux, but D-D Breaux, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with a little more of credence